Hi guys, what's going on, and welcome back to the episode of Conqueror's Blade. So today we're going to be taking a bit of a revisit back to the Longbows. So I did a video of these a while ago, quite a while ago now, and I wasn't a super fan. And I've been playing them a little bit more, I'm still far from in the max level, but I kind of been enjoying them. And I think they've kind of improved. And it's not so much because I think the unit itself has improved, but I think the situation in which they're playing has changed, and that's kind of improved them. So kind of what do I mean by that? So previously, I think the Longbow's biggest problem was not Longbows, but Prefecture Archers. The arrow rain on Prefecture Archers was so broken that they could outrange Longbows. And considering the main play benefit, or certainly one of the play benefits of Longbows, is their long range, then that kind of immediately makes them redundant. Once you add on to the fact that Prefecture Archers shoot about 3 or 4 arrows for every one longbow arrow, and realistically ended up doing the same amount of damage as longbows, then it kind of meant Prefecture Archers were the dominant archer for that tier. Now what's changed? Prefecture Archers are still very good, but they aren't quite the shining beacon of overpoweredness that they once were. Arrow rain, while still a little bit broken in its range, is certainly fires a lot slower now. The piercing damage, piercing armor penetration, of Prefecture Archers have been quite heavily nerfed, so they're not doing quite so much damage, particularly against more heavily armored units. And with the changes we've had to the tech tree, and sort of combined with the fact that as time goes on in the game, we're getting more end game units, we are seeing an increasing amount of Reapers, Palace Guards, and then Imperial Spear Guards, and other really high armor, high-end units, which means armor penetration, being able to have a decent armor penetration value, 1467 here, is increasingly important, because it means you can apply much better damage. So I think that's kind of meant that the Longbowmen have improved, not directly because of their changes, but because of the way they've been implemented. On top of that, they also have the one change they did get are its abilities they get a covering fire, which means they shoot near you as a hero, and the Overwatch shoot at enemies around the designated area. I'd much prefer Overwatch to like a targeted fire ability, an attack area that lower tier archers get. It just seems to work a little bit nicer for me. They seem to actually shoot and target people around where you pick it, rather than just sort of shooting at a wall or something, because that's where the circle is. So, yeah, seems to work a lot nicer. Now, Longbows themselves, the actual units, as I say, they do fire quite slowly, so that's quite a drawback, particularly if you're used to Prefecture Archers, but they do hit quite hard. Their piercing damage at almost 2,000 is really, really quite good. And then combine that with the armor penetration means it can actually apply that damage to relatively heavy armored units. And then, of course, the range. Starting off with the base of 103, this is going to go up another 15%. So we're going to end up with really quite a high range by the end of this, which is going to be pretty cool. 115, I guess, will be the 115 meters. So you're going to be able to hit people at quite a long distance away. I think your limitation is going to be more being able to find positions to make use of that range, rather than just the range itself. So yeah, so I've been kind of playing them. I've been kind of enjoying them. I've been getting some pretty decent kills with them. So yeah, I just wanted to take a bit of a look at them. Let's hop into some battles. Kind of see how we get on with them. So we're into our first little bit of footage, and we are on White Elk Fort on the siege map. I've been up already, been involved in some of the fighting, and we've captured this part of the wall. And this kind of shows nicely the range a little bit of Longbows and how it kind of works quite nicely. It gives you some options. So you can see right down at the max range, right at the other end of the map, and look at the amount of damage we can do against these other units of archers. I mean, always, if you get the drop on enemy archers, really with whatever archer unit you're using, you do well. But the longbow range does make them a little bit more flexible in this sort of situation. Particularly when you include the fact you're sort of up on a wall as well, so it doesn't give you more range, but it gives you sort of a perspective advantage. It makes it kind of easy to shoot down on people. And they work really well in this sort of situation. And even at their maximum range, they're pretty accurate. And this is why I quite like this sort of targeting enemies around the circle sort of thing. Because you can see, as the cavalry charge went through, there's not really a lot of stuff there anymore. But they still shoot reasonably accurately sort of at things in the area, which is really kind of handy. And yeah, they're really quite an accurate little unit. So they seem to work quite nicely in this sort of capacity. And of course, as I said, with that high damage per hit, they do hit pretty hard against other archers. They're sort of hitting 1,500, 2,000. They're sort of crit for over 2,000. and that's normally enough to sort of one-hit enemy archers, particularly lower tier stuff. And with their relatively slow rate of fire, their ammo lasts quite a long time. So they're sort of hard-hitting, slow firing, which is kind of what I was saying at the start. It's a bit of a different playstyle to a lot of archers where I guess you're normally going for rate of fire, particularly with prefetches, which has kind of been like the dominant archer that I've used in battles pretty much since the beginning. So it takes a little bit getting used to that sort of slightly slower. You're not going to just be able to instantly blitz everyone like you can with prefetches. But they actually do work quite nicely. That high alpha damage is kind of nice to have. It's kind of like, it's not like playing with a musket, but it's a little bit like that. It has that more style to it. And then so we keep moving up. It's just a short clip. That was the main bit I really wanted to show you on that one, was just how it shoots through there. I mean, in a minute you'll see how they shoot sideways. They don't really do a lot against shields in that way. You'll see in a minute shooting against an Imperial Spearguard where they struggle a lot more. But that's because, you know, when you're comparing it to something, say, like a Domain Arbalist or the Crossbowman, crossbows would be a lot better in this situation. Relatively close range shooting against a very good shield unit. Then the crossbows would be a lot better because they have that shield breaker. Something that not really any archers have, but longbows, yeah, same problems as everyone else, don't really work very well. So for the second clip, we're spawning in a bit of a duff spot. I'm already being shot at, so I'm going to quickly try and throw my targeting aim up on the top. And we actually, you know, it shows how much damage they can do in a short period of time. You know, we're up sort of, what, 20 kills already, straight from the off? While we were already being shot at, and it only cost us one man. And we were shooting from the lower down disadvantage. So they can put out quite a decent amount of damage when they can get their hits, because, as I say, even though they don't fire fast, that high alpha damage does mean they can hit pretty hard. So anyway, so we managed to get off the supply point without completely dying, which I was quite pleased about. So then I started to push forward. I'm thinking about how I'm going to push the B point. We should be able to capture it. I do this quite badly. Look, this enemy cav comes here, and I stand right in front of it. What a silly mistake. But thankfully, with sort of a bit of allied support, some allied muskets there, another bit of allied range, and the relatively high alpha damage of our own longbows, sort of combined with a little bit of stun from my poleaxe, my hero, we're actually able to not take any losses from that cav charge. That cav charge basically broke against the archer line. It's not something. I don't think that was a good play. Don't stand in front of a cav charge, particularly when it was pretty obvious that was going to be coming. Yet I still sort of just stood there in front of it. I had time to get out the way, but thankfully we got away with it. The alpha damage on these guys is high against lightly armoured cav units like the Selkamids. They do well. They're a good unit. So anyway, capture B point, as to be expected. Once A's gone on this map, C is really where the defenders need to be going. Again, hitting up against some shield wall. Not a tremendous amount of damage from the archers. We get a few kills and stuff, but you know, against Imperial Spearguards, these longbows are not going to do a great deal. Crossbows would be far better. So now I'm thinking, right, how can I provide support? And this is where I think they also, longbows exceed a lot of other units. So I'm putting them on the supply point. I turn them round so they're all in the alleyway so they can all shoot out. But I can't get, because I'm low down, I can't get any good firing angle from here. I can't direct them very well. And I think they're firing a few shots themselves, but they're not doing a great deal. So I come up here, and I'm able to then use the ladder just to sort of get the drop. You can direct them from a ladder. You don't actually have to get off. And you see my shots start to come up. They're a little bit close to the wall here, but you see they're still getting some hits, so that's killed someone. And then I notice more in the distance, and you think how far away this is now. That's at the top of the stairs, and I'm still on the supply point. And wait for it. It takes a bit of time for the arrow travel to actually get there. But then look, we're starting to get the hits in now. Against these Imperial muskets. It takes a little bit of time to build up some damage because they take 2 or 3 hits. They actually have a reasonable amount of health, those Imperial muskets. But you can see we're starting to deal with that unit now from basically the extremes of their distance. And it's pretty unique for an archer unit to be able to fire that far and fire relatively accurately with pretty high damaging arrows. And it slowly starts to clear out that unit of enemy muskets. And that unit of enemy muskets is really blocking up this steps here. So it's quite a critical unit to take out. And Imperial muskets, that is, you know, that's a 250 leadership unit. So if we can take that out from the safety of our supply point, then that is certainly a big plus for our team. And, you know, it's an equivalent unit to the longbows. So that sort of is where I think the longbows really excel. That sort of just slow range back end, far distance support. Be able to just keep throwing shots in. You know, they're not blitzing a unit. They're not getting 50 kills within 20 seconds like prefectures can do in the right situation. But they could just sit there, they keep firing, slowly, steady, and you'll see every now and then I'll just be fighting along, walking around, and every now and then you'll see a kill pops up, that someone just gets hit by a stray longbow arrow as they keep firing. Oh, there we go, someone died. And, you know, we're well over 50 kills now just by continually getting hits in. You see a couple of crits hit in as on some of the enemy units there. They keep racking up the damage and they provide that support. And when you can target it against good enemy units like those Imperial muskets, which are a really critical one to kill, then you can really do quite a good job with it. That was a terrible trebuchet on my part. Yeah, it wasn't very well aimed. Don't try and aim trebuchets up a ramp from super long distance was the moral of that story. Yeah, it just wasn't very well done. So now that we've cleared the sea, I wanted to kind of bring my longbows up a little bit more. Try and see if I can throw some fire support in actually on this supply point, because we've got to get them off this supply point before we can start to pressure base. I think this was a fine move. I managed to get a few units as they run away up here, which I was pleased about. But the longbows come up, and I'm able to just get my my full support fire onto the supply point, and the longbows do a pretty decent job of that. I'm getting pretty dangerously low on health here. I'm playing a bit of a dangerous game. You see I start to panic a bit there, run into a wall. But I managed to get back behind cover. And you see longbows racking up more damage. One of them gets hit by javelin, but nothing too bad. Again, they run into that shield wall problem against those, I think they're Imperial javelins, or maybe javelin sergeants, one of the two. But once they're gone, then they can just throw their arrows against the much lighter enemy musket units, and you see they go down pretty quickly. And we're able to basically clear the supply point. But I lose focus, I'm stopping paying attention, I'm not checking the minimap, and you have to look down in the bottom left corner to see that my unit is just getting decimated, and I didn't notice the enemy had flanked around the back with cav, and that pretty much spells the end of the unit. We get away with it completely, we don't lose the whole unit, because I say these guys do hit really hard, and when you start hitting cav for 2,000 damage, they, you're going to have to get a couple of arrows on and they're dead. But still, it cost me about half the unit. And really, once you're down to half strength, you've really lost a lot of the effectiveness of the unit. And I was pretty disenchanted by that point, so I pulled back to the supply point, thought, right, just grab out the Spear Sergeant, let's finish this. We've got 7 minutes, but we're starting to really throw weight onto the cap point now. So I kind of wanted to assist with that. Grab up my Spear Sergeants, get them to circle on me, and then I start to push in to go and assist the cap. At this point, I was sort of thinking, well, we've got quite a few people going on. There's a bit of a fight breaking out. So I decided I wanted to throw an artillery down. Not because I thought it would be useful in any way, but because I was trying to complete a quest. So out comes the green ballista. I've got like 15 of them to deploy or something. So I just had to get one of them now. But you can see that we're really starting to dominate the cap point anyway. So I felt we'd easily won this game already. I think I do bother shooting. I do throw a random ballista somewhere into the back. I don't think I even hit anything. And then we just push up and we're finishing off the cap. I think we even managed to get a sneaky hero kill. And in a second we do, just before the victory. Nice. So hopefully that kind of highlights some of the strengths and weaknesses of longbows. They are quite a nice unit. They're not amazing, they're not super, but they just plod along, and that range is really quite nice. And now prefetchers are not quite what they once were. I think they're a really decent unit. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, let me know what you think in the comments down below. And of course, subscribe to the channel for a load more Conqueror's Blade content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I shall see you all on the next video.